For many Harry Potter fans, the Resurrection Stone, Invisibility Cloak, and Elder Wand are the most important magical artifacts in the wizarding world. But what if I told you that right under your nose, in the books and movies, there are several objects, spells, and monuments that are arguably more powerful than the Deathly Hallows? So in today's video, I'll be walking you through 11 different magical artifacts that you might have heard of, but never fully understood the massive impact they had on the wizarding world. And on top of some of these known artifacts, I'm going to reveal a set of magical objects that never made their way into the main story, but have a profound impact on the Harry Potter series. Here's a hint. This object decides who gets into Hogwarts and who doesn't. So stick around until the end to see what those objects are. My name is Gibby and welcome to my channel Fact or Fantasy Harry Potter, a place where we nerd out about all things wizarding. Every week we talk about the books and movies, discovering new lore and more. If you enjoy breakdowns like this one, be sure to like and subscribe and share with a Harry Potter loving friend. As for today's video, I want you to consider something while I discuss these incredible artifacts and objects. Think about which items you would choose if you were given the choice. One of the Deathly Hallows or the items that I'm describing today. While the Elder Wand is extremely powerful and supposedly unbeatable, I'm willing to bet that you'd take quite a few of the objects in this video over it any day of the week. But we'll see by the end of the video. So to kick things off, let's jump into magical artifact number 1, which is the Marauder's Map. Of course, we're starting with something that every Harry Potter fan is extremely familiar with, and something that many fans wish they had in their own school. While this may seem like an inconspicuous piece of parchment, it's actually quite powerful and more useful in a practical manner than the Deathly Hallows themselves. You're probably aware of the fact that it was created by James Potter, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and Peter Pettigrew. However, you might not have known that the specific charm it utilizes is called the Homunculus Charm. This charm itself is honestly more noteworthy than the actual Marauder's Map, as you could apply it to almost any piece of parchment to see the humans in a plotted area. The most powerful aspect of this charm is that it isn't fooled by animagi, polyjuice, or even the invisibility cloak, making the charm, and by proxy the map, more powerful than one of the Deathly Hallows. Now, what is specifically impressive about the Marauder's Map is that the Homunculus Charm is only as good as the knowledge of the creators, meaning that these 4 boys had to have known pretty much every inch of the castle in order to plot it, which is quite impressive if you ask me. And finally, the last thing I'll say about this object is that J.K. Rowling herself had issues with how overpowered it was. She said once in an interview that she often had to write ways of Harry losing it or getting it confiscated, just so he wouldn't have it during crucial plot points. Because if he had had it the entire time at school, he would have found out about certain important plot points way earlier than J.K. Rowling intended. And in my opinion, if an object is causing issues for the creator of the world, that's probably a good sign that it's too powerful. Anyway, moving on to magical artifact number 2, we have Mad Eye Moody's Magical Eye. Now, everyone recognizes this electric blue swiveling prosthetic because it's basically Moody's entire brand, but you might not realize just how technically absurd this thing actually is. We don't really know who made it, but it was most likely Moody himself or someone close to him like Dumbledore. Regardless, it would need to be a powerful wizard, because the enchantment work on it is staggering, and it brings it just one notch up on the Marauder's Map. It doesn't just replace Moody's sight, but it offers a 360-degree vision through solid objects like wood, stone, and even the back of Moody's own skull. The most powerful aspect, however, is that it is one of the only known objects in existence that can penetrate the invisibility cloak. And no, I'm not talking about how the map can see a dot with your name. I mean that Moody can literally see Harry under the cloak, all the way down to the socks that Dobby made for him. Just think about the implications of that. A man-made prosthetic outclassed an object allegedly crafted by death itself. Now, before we move on to object number 3, I wanted to briefly give you the history of the eye. In the First Wizarding War, Moody lost it during a battle with some Death Eaters. He then made or had someone else make it, and he continued to wear it until his death. Afterward, it was given to Umbridge, who essentially used it as the world's best ring doorbell. But when the trio broke into the Ministry, Harry took back the eye, and what a lot of fans don't remember is that he buried it under a tree, That way no one else could use it for evil purposes. And now with that history lesson done, let's move on to magical artifact number 3, which is the Sorting Hat. Of course, every fan knows the rhyming songs and the three-legged stool, just as we all know that it can pull a hat trick by manifesting the Sword of Gryffindor for a worthy student in times of peril. This specific ability likely comes down to the fact that the hat was originally owned by Godric Gryffindor himself, creating a unique bond between his artifacts. While that is undeniably cool, the truly profound aspect of this magical object is its mind. This isn't just a chatty accessory. It was enchanted by all 4 founders of Hogwarts to house their combined knowledge and wisdom. We are talking about the cognitive capacity of 4 of the greatest witches and wizards in history, fused into a single consciousness. Plus, it is highly skilled in legilimency. So skilled in fact that it can read your mind and communicate with you just by you wearing it. This advanced mind-reading ability allowed it to detect the fragment of Voldemort's soul in Harry, something almost no living wizard could do. If you ask me, possessing the collective brain power of the founders makes this hat the most knowledgeable entity in the entire castle, far surpassing any library or professor. And finally, regarding its creation, J.K. Rowling admitted that she struggled with how to sort the students. She originally planned on using an elaborate machine or statues of the founders that would come to life, before deciding that a personality-filled hat would be much more fun. It's really too bad that the movies cut out the Sorting Hat song each year, but hopefully we'll get that in the upcoming show. Now, since we're already on the topic of Godric Gryffindor, let's move on to magical artifact number 4, which is the Sword of Gryffindor. You obviously know this as the ruby-encrusted blade that Harry used to slay the basilisk. But what makes this weapon truly terrifying isn't its sharpness, it's the metallurgy. It was forged by goblins, meaning it possesses the unique property of goblin silver, which means it only takes in that which makes it stronger. This is a game changer, more than we really think about. It means the sword literally levels up over time. By stabbing the basilisk, it didn't just get dirty, it absorbed the venom, permanently transforming from a fancy antique into a nuclear option against Horcruxes. More than that, you have to remember that the sword is 1,000 years old. I'm sure it encountered many other fights over that time, slowly increasing its powers during those long years. If you ask me, this capability makes it potentially more powerful than the Deathly Hallows. While the Elder Wand has a fixed limit to its power, the sword has no ceiling. It endlessly evolves based on the legendary foes it defeats. And random fan theory that I have here, what if Harry used the Sword of Godric Gryffindor to cut the Elder Wand in half? Would the sword become super powerful like the Elder Wand? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, let's move on past Godric and get into another incredible artifact that you should probably think twice about. At number 5, we have the Philosopher's Stone. Let me know in the comments where you would rank this magical object, because personally, I think it gets overlooked way too much. Yes, it technically is destroyed and doesn't exist after the first book, but because of this, we tend to overlook it time and time again. In reality, the Philosopher's Stone is perhaps the most powerful object known to mankind, because it literally could allow someone to live forever, and not only live forever, but have unlimited money and resources. So yeah, it's pretty powerful. I mean, the whole legend of the Deathly Hallows was that if you had all 3, you were the master of death. I don't know about you, but Nicholas Flamel was the master of death for about 600 years before he decided to throw in the towel thanks to Dumbledore's encouragement. So next time you watch the first movie, maybe take a minute to really think about the stone compared to the Deathly Hallows, and decide which one you'd rather have. Anyway, next up at magical artifact number 6, we've got the Mirror of Erised. Now, most fans just see this as a plot device for Harry to see his parents, but if you really think about it, this thing is actually kind of scary. It doesn't just reflect light, it reflects the deepest, most desperate desire of your heart. And if you ask me, that makes it way more powerful than something like the Resurrection Stone. The stone just drags reluctant souls back as sad, cold shadows that don't even belong here. The mirror, though, it builds a perfect custom reality that is so addictive, wizards have literally sat there and wasted away just staring at it. That is a level of psychological torture that the Deathly Hallows can't touch. If you remember, one of the most integral parts of the stone was the fact that the one brother who had it offed himself because of the mental torture of not being able to truly bring back his girl. The mirror is very similar in that aspect, but it also can take things a little further. And we see that in the first book when Dumbledore turned this mirror into a weapon. He tweaked the magic so that only someone who wanted to find the Philosopher's Stone, but not use it, could get it out. As we all know, this trick completely stumped Voldemort, proving that this mirror is a way better guard dog than Fluffy ever was. Now, my question at the beginning of the video may not be too pertinent to this situation, because I don't think you'd want the mirror or the Resurrection Stone, given how psychologically torturing they both are. However, in terms of practical use cases, I think the mirror is more versatile and therefore more powerful. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Now hold on, don't click off just yet, because we still haven't gotten to some of the most insane magical artifacts from Harry Potter. And at number 8, I'm going to reveal something that I don't think you've ever heard of. First, I want to give a huge shout out to Jason, Joshua, Timothy, RoboSteve, and the rest of my incredible Patreon and YouTube members. You guys help make these videos possible every month, so give yourselves a big round of applause. Now with that being said, let's dive into magical artifact number 7, which is the Time Turner. I know you guys were probably thinking this since the beginning of the video. How could I make a video about Harry Potter's most powerful magical objects and not talk about a literal time machine? This isn't just a shiny necklace, it's a regulated containment unit for the Hour Reversal Charm. And honestly, this thing makes the Deathly Hallows look like children's toys. The Resurrection Stone brings back sad ghosts? Cool. The Time Turner lets you rewrite reality itself. But here's the catch that the movies and books kind of glossed over. It is incredibly dangerous. There is a rule called Professor Croker's Law, which states that you can only go back 5 hours safely. Break that and physics snap. In 1899, a witch named Eloise Mintumble went back 5 centuries. When she returned, she aged 500 years in a second and died, and her trip accidentally caused 25 people in the present to become unborn. That is horrifying. So while Harry and Hermione used it perfectly to create a stable loop and save Sirius, they were playing with forces that could have literally erased them from existence. While the book and movie just talk about going mad, the real consequences are much more severe. If you ask me, that might make this the most volatile object in the entire series. So let me know if you can think of anything worse than this device. I guess there's a reason they keep them contained in the Department of Mysteries and only unspeakables can work with them. Unless you're a third-year girl at Hogwarts who happens to get straight A's. Then anything goes. Next up at magical artifact number 8, we finally come to a couple of objects that you probably have never heard of. I know most of this video has been discussing and ranking some incredible magical pieces that are pretty prevalent in the series, but this one is not discussed whatsoever. High up in a small locked tower never visited by any student at Hogwarts sits an ancient book bound in peeling black dragon hide. Beside it stands a silver ink pot and a long faded quill. These are the Book of Admittance and the Quill of Acceptance, and according to the lore, they have not been touched by human hands since the 4 founders placed them there. So what do? They decide who gets into Hogwarts and who doesn't. Essentially, they determine whether you're deemed a squib or not. The dynamic between these two is absolutely fascinating. The quill, which is an augury feather, is the optimist. It is incredibly sensitive, and a mere whiff of magic suffices for it to float up and attempt to write a child's name. But the book is the skeptic. It will literally snap shut, refusing to be written upon until it receives sufficiently dramatic evidence of magical ability. The craziest example of this argument happens with Neville Longbottom. Even the midwife failed to notice that newborn Neville shifted his blankets snugly over himself, using magic. But the quill saw it and tried to write his name. The book, though, wasn't having it. It snapped shut and refused to acknowledge him for 8 years, all the way until he survived a fall that should have killed him. On the flip side, you have someone like Harry, who, as Hagrid says, has had his name written down since the day he was born. It might seem harsh, but the book's sternness has a purpose. Its track record is flawless. It has never allowed a squib into Hogwarts. If you ask me, a magical bureaucracy that has maintained a perfect admission rate for 1,000 years without a single human administrator is pretty impressive. While it might not be the exact kind of magic that we experience with the Deathly Hallows, there is something powerful about the lore surrounding the book and quill that I just love. So let me know in the comments if you knew about this before watching this video. Anyway, now we must move on to number 9. As we near our ending for this incredible list of magical artifacts, we come to Horcruxes. Now I know what you're thinking, these are just dark magic items. but strictly speaking, they are artifacts created through the most obscure branch of magic invented by Herpo the Foul in ancient Greece. And for a second here, we really need to look at the definition of the Deathly Hallows being the master of death, because when you compare them to Horcruxes, the Hallows really are symbolic and they accept death. A Horcrux, on the other hand, is a violent rejection of it. By splitting your soul through murder, you anchor yourself to the living world. And Voldemort proved this worked in 1981 when he survived the rebounding killing curse that should have ended him. That is a feat that the Resurrection Stone could never pull off. But here is the truly disturbing part. J.K. Rowling has said that there is a very specific and grotesque step in the creation process of a Horcrux, aside from the murder. She once told her editor, and when telling him, it made her sick, so she never published it. While the Hallows might make you a master of death in a poetic sense, a Horcrux makes you a slave to life, existing as a mutilated spirit just to avoid the end. Is it more powerful than the Resurrection Stone, Invisibility Cloak, or Elder Wand? I think so. Although it is gross and isn't true life, it does keep you tied to the world even when facing certain death. And with that, we come to our penultimate magical artifact number 10, which isn't so much an artifact as it is a special location. Want to guess? If you said the Room of Requirement, you'd be right. To be honest, there isn't much I can say about this iconic room, because almost nothing is known about it in the traditional Harry Potter lore. As you know, it is a room in Hogwarts that becomes whatever the person entering it needs the most. It becomes what you require it to become. This is an insanely powerful type of magic that has no identifiable origin, and is unknown to even the greatest of wizards at Hogwarts, including Dumbledore himself. While it lacks the portability of something like the Elder Wand, it really is one of the most powerful enchantments found in the wizarding world. The ability to read the user's mind and then conjure something out of nothing at a moment's notice is pretty incredible. And now finally, at number 11, I want to talk about one of the most intriguing things in the wizarding world. I call it a thing because I'm not really sure if it's a magical artifact or a monument. I don't know if anyone really knows what it is, but it is called the Veil. This is the arch that we see in the Department of Mysteries in the Order of the Phoenix. Based on what we learned from the book, this archway seemed to be a doorway to the land of the dead. We don't have much information from J.K. Rowling about the Veil, but we do know that it's not Limbo, which is where Harry met Dumbledore in the Deathly Hallows. No, this seems to be a place where the dead reside. The reason we think it's a door to the dead is because you seem to be able to travel through it. You see, in the movie, they changed Sirius's death by showing him getting hit with a killing curse, whereas in the book, he dodges a red light, probably Stupefy, and then gets hit by a second light, which we can assume was also red. This second strike causes him to freeze up and then fall into the Veil. Harry expects him to emerge on the other side, but finds that Sirius had completely disappeared. So we know that this Veil transports people somewhere, but we don't know exactly where. Luna and Harry think they hear voices through the Veil that sound like the dead, which is why we assume it's the land of the dead. But other than that, we don't have much to go on. One of the most fascinating facts about this arch is that we know that it's as old as the Ministry of Magic itself, which makes you think, was the Ministry built around this specific monument? And if so, why? What was the major significance of it hundreds of years prior that made them build one of the largest governing powers around it? And for that reason, I place this eerie yet intriguing magical monument at number 1 on the list. And if you know anything else about it that I don't, please drop a comment below because I'd love to learn. For now, that wraps up our list for today. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any video ideas for the future, drop a comment below. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video.